Welcome to another edition of Junior Achievement of Southern Colorado's virtual career speaker series. Today, I'm thrilled to share with you that we have Chris Segura with us. And Chris is a senior representative for Primerica, but plays many roles in the community of Pueblo, Colorado, where he lives and gives back to his community each and every day. Chris, welcome to our virtual speaker series. We're so grateful that you're here with us today. And for our students, we'd love if you could just start out by telling us about your background, about the role that you're in today with Primerica, and how did your career lead you here? Has it been a straight path, or have you taken a lot of turns along the way? We'd love to hear your story.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here and be a part of this project. It's an awesome thing that you guys are doing for the kids of our community. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Yeah, I'm a senior rep for Primerica, just a financial services organization, and my goal is to educate families of all walks of life and kids to manage their finances, build their estate, become financially free, prevent debt if at all costs, right? Teach a lot of those very elementary financial life lessons so that we can kind of stop the whole debt bleeding, so to speak, that happens in our communities. So now, as far as my story goes, my background is in finance and economics. That's what I got my degree in. But my career path has been kind of a winding road. You know, I was in media for about 8.5, 9 years before I finally got the opportunity to step into financial services. But financial services was my dream when I went into school. And so going way back, my parents were extremely involved in the community. That's where the influence came for me to get involved in the community, involved in multiple chambers, United Way, things like that, organizations like that as I was growing up. And so business kind of seemed like it would be the path for me, but I had to try some things. I entered the workforce. My parents had me enter the workforce at 13 years old. And my very first job was working for my cousin, working in a used car lot, detailing cars in and out so that he can sell them, most of which did not have air conditioning, by the way, and it was a summer job. So like I really learned kind of that's where I learned my work ethic from, right, is being introduced to the workforce that way. It was manual labor, it wasn't an office job. I was outside all day long in the middle of the summer, but I had a lot of fun. I was able to listen to music and do some things that, just be outside, which I loved at the time. And so that's what kind of kick-started my whole workforce mentality. And so fast forward, I worked a couple of jobs. I worked as a hotel desk clerk, which is where I really kind of got the taste of sales, so to speak. Right, you don't really connect those dots when you're younger, and I didn't really make that connection until I was in college that I was doing so. You just kind of get trained and go with the flow. But I learned a lot about service. I learned a lot about servicing different types of people, because in the hotel service industry, you get different kinds of people that walk through there every single day, different mentalities, different paces, things like that. And so that's really where I learned a lot of those things. Graduated from high school, went through high school. My curriculum in high school was kind of teeter-totter, where I loved science, loved what you can do with science. So I was highly motivated to take science courses, but I loved business courses as well. And ultimately, that's what I was better at. And so I took more and more and had fun with those business classes. I became the president of my FBLA chapter. Was highly involved in DECA, went to 2 national leadership conferences through DECA, qualified for state just about every year that I competed through DECA and FBLA. So something I was just really good at. Took some STS courses in economics and accounting. And so when I graduated high school from South High School here in Pueblo, I was already a sophomore in college, and so I took care of my first year of academics in high school. That's the STS program gave me the opportunity to do that. And so when I started college, they declared me an accounting major right off the bat because of the courses that I had taken in high school and the credits that I had. And so I said, okay, well, I'll give it a shot. I took one accounting course, I think, in high school, and I just figured it wasn't for me. It was really easy, right? It was, I didn't enjoy it. And so my advisor told me and asked me to take a statistics class. And so I took a stats class and I fell in love with it. My friends thought I was crazy because I had a couple friends in that class and they said, how do you like it? I can't even understand, what's going on in this class. And I loved it. Consequently, I was on a full ride scholarship at the university. I had a part-time job. There was really money wasn't really an issue for me, but I felt myself going into debt a little bit because I didn't have that base knowledge of of credit history and credit and what to do and not to do with your finances, right? And so I started digging myself a little bit of a hole, which inspired me because even though I took some of those business courses and with my family background being as it was, I didn't really have that base education at home, and I felt like that was missing. And so I switched my major to finance and economics, and what my dream was to become a financial advisor, help families, work through their finances, and then hopefully retire early, 50s, 60s, and go back to school, get my teaching degree, and teach personal finance to kids. And so that was my dream path. I did graduate from college with a finance degree. I got a BSBA from CSU Pueblo, emphasis in finance and economics. But my career path, this is where my career path gets speed bumpy, right? So I tried to do too much, too fast. My last semester of college, the organization that was recruiting me was AXA Advisors, and they wanted me to get my life accident and health license, my Series 7, and then start on my Series 66, all in my last semester of college. Mind you, I was still working on my core classes. I was working still almost full time, and I was coaching high school soccer without taking on that load. And so I was like Superman in college, like you think you could just yeah, sure, I can do that. Absolutely. Yeah, sure. You asked that, you think I can do that? Absolutely, I can do that. And unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I just took on a little too much. And so I had to leave that opportunity by the wayside because I had previous commitments. I couldn't just leave the soccer program that I started. Unfortunately, I just wasn't brought up that way to just, quit your previous commitments. And so that was something that I had to give up for the time being. A friend of mine introduced me to Enterprise Rent-A-Car, which they highly recruit out of college, right? And that was an amazing organization to work for. They recruit well, right? They recruit out of college because that's where the energy is. I was working over 60 hours a week every week. But I loved every second of it. The people were awesome. They were people my age, right? People I related to. That organization, that model taught me so much about not only managing people, but managing an office, working with numbers, really running your own business. And so I excelled through that program. I became a manager at the Colorado Springs Airport, and I was helping to run the office up there. Consequently, I had a pretty devastating and sudden loss in my family. My stepdad passed away at a very young age, at the age of 38, from a routine appendectomy situation, and ultimately brought me back to Pueblo. There was some family divisions that happened when he passed, and my brother was 11, a very critical age of development and relationships and things, and he didn't really have another male figure in his life at that time because of those family divisions. And so I tried to transfer back through the company, but the way that that organization is designed is very lean and mean. And the position that I was at didn't allow for transfer back. I would have had to take a demotion. And so I found myself just by chance in retail sales at American Furniture Warehouse. It was just, for me, it was a job just so I can be back at home and support my life and be here for my brother. Um, and that's where I got introduced to commission sales. And that's where I fell in love with commission, because at Enterprise, I was top sales for 6 to 9 months. And, their business structure isn't that one in which it rewards that you're on an hourly or you convert to a salary or a bonus. And unfortunately, I wasn't at that either one of those positions. And so ultimately, that's where I learned the beauty of commission sales and really putting forth as much effort and then getting reciprocated in income and that kind of stuff. And so I loved it. Again, I maintained in the top 3 or 5 salespeople on the sales floor at any given time throughout the month. And so excelled at that. But for me, it wasn't a career. It didn't allow me to do some of the things that I aspired to do, which was get involved in the community, volunteer. It was retail sales. And so if I were going to start a family, this is weekends, this is, kind of an altering schedule. It wasn't flexible. I wasn't able just to leave on a whim or be there for my kids or anything like that. So I always kind of kept my options open for something that would allow me to, really kind of start a family, I guess, and be there for my kids, and then also be a part of the community. And so when there was a job posting for a sales rep at KOAA Channel 5, which is a local broadcast station, you're familiar here in Southern Colorado, a very popular one, I just kind of took the plunge and I applied for the position and interviewed for the job, like right down the street from where I was working. And they hired me within 2 weeks. And so that job taught me a lot about myself, I will tell you, because it was a sink or swim position. They gave me a video set of videos to train on. So it wasn't a very personable training program, a phone book and a telephone and a desk. And they said, go. And so I had a mentor in the office, but she was already seasoned. She was a veteran already. She already had a full plate herself. She wasn't prepared, nor should they tell her, hey, you're going to have to help train this person. And so I think I went on 1 or maybe 2 meetings with her to shadow her to get some experience. And unfortunately, one of those didn't show up, and the other one wasn't really one, and it wasn't by her fault, wasn't really one that benefited me. And so I had to kind of take a side seat. Our desks were in areas where I can listen, not necessarily watch, but listen to her verbiage, listen to how she handled her relationships and things like that while she was in the office. And that's where I learned a lot of my training, was just by my own, like, know how to say, okay, well, how else can I learn from these people that I'm around? So I spent some time with some other folks in the office. I listened to how she responded to things, how she made phone calls, how she developed those relationships. And it benefited me very well. I took a book of business from 0 to about $750,000 in about 3.5 years. And her and I together in Pueblo broke some records for the company in the Pueblo area, just by the way that we developed our relationships with each other, with our clients. And so then ultimately I got, I raised some eyebrows, and I was taking business from other media companies here in the market. And so one of them was my stepdad's old office here in town. It was a Comcast office, and that's where he actually worked, and that's where so it was kind of full circle that the company recruited me. And so when he passed away, he was working for Comcast and that same team. And so when I got to choose my desk, it was full circle, because I chose the desk that he sat at just by chance. And so she told me after I moved in, she goes, this is Gil's desk. Gil's my stepdad. And I said, I didn't realize that. And so I began working for the same team, the same boss, at the same desk that he was at when he passed away. And so it became something that was near and dear to my heart. And I kind of took that and ran with it. And those opportunities in media allowed me then to kind of expand in my community involvement. I became very involved in the Boys and Girls Clubs of Pueblo. I started getting involved in the Latino Chamber. And so those kind of roads kind of paved the way for my community relationships, and developed those skills in meeting new people and making connections and helping other folks make connections. Along the way, I became involved in other networking groups, and I started going to networking events and things like that. Just for the elementary reason of making connections for my business, and then in doing that, developing relationships and just falling in love with the community, and just wanting to do more and more and more for kids became more my passion, right? I started having kids, started a family throughout this process, and thinking back to the losses that I had and some of the mishaps that happened in my life, and some of the folks that were in those influential positions pulling me aside and seeing things in me that I hadn't seen in myself yet, and kind of just pushing me and guiding me the direction I had. I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in to help others had that not happened. And so me wanting, when I was able to be in a position to do so, wanting to do that for the kids and the future of our community just became a passion of mine. And while working in marketing, it became a passion of mine to help businesses grow too, seeing how that small business was the heartbeat of our community, and having a passion to help those businesses develop and grow and aspire to do the things that they ultimately wanted to do for their own dreams and their own families. So that's kind of my story. That's what brought me. And so then I guess the final slate is the most recent one, because of COVID-19. Marketing itself took an economic hit because businesses had to close. They were forced to reevaluate their business strategies, and sometimes marketing becomes one of those that goes by the wayside when crises like this happen. And unfortunately, because of the economic impact that COVID had on our office and in our region, the company was forced to let a couple of folks go, and I just happened to be one of those folks that happened to. But I've been very blessed with a super supportive family. We were in a very unique and blessed position, that my fiance looked at me and she said, I don't think this is a bad thing. I think it's a really big opportunity for you to take some risks that you weren't willing to take before. And I talked to David Ties, my mentor and partner now, and with Primerica. He's the regional vice president of our office. And he'd been trying to get me to make this move for quite some time and take this opportunity. He saw some things in myself that I hadn't seen yet. And he kept nudging me every time he see me. And finally, he said, hey, here's the opportunity. And I said, hey, I'm all yours. Let's do it. And we've done some pretty great things in the last few weeks that him and I have been working together, building on his kind of base that he's built. So I've been very blessed in a lot of ways, and now I get to kind of live out my dream of being a part of financial services and help those families. And so I'm super blessed and super excited. It's crazy the way your career paths take you, but I'm happy to be in the position that I am. Absolutely.
Chris, I've been on the edge of my seat the whole time. I mean, first of all, you're a great storyteller. So the way that you're talking about one position to the next, it's fascinating to see how this led you here. Fascinating also to see that it took it took a crisis. It took a time for someone, you know, the job had, you weren't going to quit because you're not a quitter, right? And so for when the opportunity came, it was here for you. And it is, you know, full circle was, of course, with your stepdad's desk and with that role. But then, you know, when you first talked about this, you said this was my dream. And so it took a pivotal moment to get you here to where you're at today. And I think there will be a lot of learning and, of course, a lot of success. I heard you say a couple of things. First, you know, when you enter the workforce at 13, you know, you're bound to have, you know, some great opportunity there to really learn from others around you. I want to go way back. And then one of the things I've noticed is, so from enterprise to KOAA, you had two very different work experiences. One was a model of training. I'm always impressed with enterprise and with the way that they work to bring recent college graduates in a training program that I find really impressive just as a customer. And I don't even know that much about it, but I love hearing your story. And I've met so many people who've learned so much through that training program. You know, to me, companies like Enterprise or Disney World or, you know, those brands that have those great training models built in, they teach a workforce and a talent pool that can certainly support communities, you know, even after they finish their roles at those organizations. It certainly happened in your case. But I want to go way back to the hotel experience. I want to go way back to service, because you also said I've been very blessed, but I will also say that something I heard once was, you know, luck is when opportunity and talent come together. So it's not all luck. It's the fact that you created opportunities for yourself in the right way. But tell me about the early experiences with customer service, because I know they have been throughout your life. It's about how you treat the customer. It's about how you're treating your team members. It's about accountability and how your team can rely on you. What did you learn early on about, you know, you mentioned work ethic in the car and customer service and being that team member. Promotions don't just happen. New jobs just don't come. People don't just get hired because they're hired because the talent is there, the work ethic is there, and when you're promoted, it certainly shows that work ethic. What was it about you as a team member that created an opportunity for you to get promoted within a certain organization? How do you show yourself and be your best self in the workplace?
Well, I think that goes back to my roots. Again, my family has been in business, in the business world, you know, for many years. But my grandparents instilled a very, and I think it's that generation of how to treat people. You know, it's almost lost a little bit or redundant. You treat people as though you would want to be treated, and you're always classy, and you're always treating people with respect, regardless of if that's reciprocated or not. And so that was instilled from my grandparents way back when I was young. And so when I started in the hospitality business, working for the hotel, that was it was a very green skill that they saw in me, which is why they put me at the front desk. It was just I just related to people. I was able to handle things with ease, not really given to the stress a lot, but it was just me being a good person, right? Me being sympathetic, I guess, to every situation, patient with people, actually listening to what people were saying, and trying to accommodate what I could with what I had. That's where that developed early on, was when I was 14, 15, working in the hotel industry. And then, of course, working in that industry, they polished that. They helped me develop that even more. So in the hospitality business, and so that's taken me full circle here with every relationship that I build. It's about a mutual respect for the other person and the other relationships that I have. It's about just being kind, being positive, especially in the world that we're living in today, with the challenges that we've had. And my grandma gave me a book when I graduated from college. It was called This Too Shall Pass. And so it was a book that taught me that, yes, we have challenges, we have struggles, but there's a way to see opportunity in those challenges, in those struggles, and what is that opportunity that we have. Um, and so that's, and I think in my relationships that I've built with people, what the feedback that I get is that's kind of infectious, right? They like that about me. They like that I can uh, they can turn things into a positive and create opportunities from challenges, and that's, I think, something that has helped me develop those relationships and helped me through some of those challenges. Absolutely. In fact, in the midst of all this, I've started my own business. I have a DJ business on the side. I didn't mention that. And so not only do I have a family, but I have that with my community involvement. And then I started a podcast with a friend of mine, and we're trying to help spread that kind of energy and those messages, especially now during a challenging time, that there's always an opportunity when challenge comes across your plate. So.
Oh, I love that, Chris. I heard you talk about, some of the themes that have run through your story are listening, how you really focus on listening to a customer or a client or a family you're working with. So talking about listening, talking about the respect that you have, that you've been able to build and show to others, remaining positive, remaining hopeful, such really important themes. Tell me about mentors. You've mentioned mentors quite a bit through here. Some were reluctant mentors, if like at the station, who might feel threatened, right, by someone who's new and wanting to also. But then that mentor really realized, hey, no, this is a great team member, and together we can do more in this way. What would you share with students who are watching today about the role that mentors have played in your life and your career?
Yeah, so very early on, one of my early mentors gave me one nugget that I think was able to help me even with my reluctant mentors, right? And that was that you really have to want to be mentored. In other words, you have to be available to listen. You have to have an open mind, because the lesson that I was taught is that you're not always going to get the information that you expect from that mentor. And so a lot of times it just knocks you upside the head, and you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting to hear that. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's difficult for us to hear. It's not necessarily bad. They're just, you just have to want to become better, right? Because you're going to get some feedback and some information about yourself that maybe you know about yourself that you didn't really think anybody else can see in you, right? But that's what mentorship is all about. And so learning from those people and listening, wanting to listen to those folks is like a huge nugget that I took. And so fast forward then to some of those reluctant mentors who I saw were mentors, and mentors will come out of the woodwork, right? There'll be people that you didn't even realize are influencing you, right? And developing that skill. They'll sometimes they're fly-by-nights, and they'll meet with you, or you'll have a conversation, and they'll leave you with an eye-opener, and you're just like, wow, that was some incredible information, right? And so you won't just have one mentor over time. You'll have multiple, hopefully, and some of those, like I said, I'll give you some pretty phenomenal information if you just open up your mind and listen.
Chris, that's so important. And we talk about mentors a lot in this series as each person that talks about their success and where they've gotten, everyone has had mentors. We've talked about access to mentors and how there are times when, you may not have that mentor right in your life right now, but you have to be willing to take a risk and reach out to a mentor that may not currently be connected to you or your circle and your network, either with your family or school environment, just taking a chance on those mentors. But something we haven't talked about yet, Chris, is how you can't just expect to hear great information about how great you are already. You have to be willing to be mentored. You have to come into every mentor relationship understanding that there's something that you're going to learn, and there may be something that you need to take away from this, and that you may have to have action but behind it in order to create the change that you want. It's not just, you can't just expect a mentor to open a door for you if you're not doing the work as well, and holding yourself accountable. That is a really important point we haven't heard yet, and I appreciate you bringing that to the table. And then additionally, tell me if challenges, it was a windy road, but was there a turn you would have done something different, or are you very confident with every turn? Have there been learning opportunities where you've said, man, if I could go back on this one, I'd probably do that different? Knowing you got, you're where you want to be, you're positive about where you are. But are there times that you could have done things differently or would have done them differently? Any learning moments?
Yeah. So, I don't have regrets because, like I said, it brought me full circle to where I'm at today. But the lessons that I learned, one of the most important lessons, and I still learn it to this day with my involvement, is learning my limits as a person, and learning when to say no, and learning when to ask for help. Because those are things that I was a little bit prideful in myself early on, especially when I hit that speed bump, being recruited by that company. Had I asked for some help, had I gone to the school, had I gone to some of these other, mentors, teachers, people in my life, influential people in my life, I can guarantee you they would have helped, and I could have probably dug myself out of there and started my financial services career much, much earlier, but I did not do that. I took it upon myself. I put the weight of the world on my shoulders, and it ultimately made me forfeit an opportunity. And so I learned that, again, when I was getting involved in the community, and that I said yes to basically everybody. Everybody said, hey, or the organizations that said, hey, would you like to join our board? Yes. Would you like to be a part of this committee? Yes, I think I could do that. Look at my schedule. And I started to leave some of the things that were most important in my life, my family, my kids, kind of, they started to trickle out of my life a little bit. And so one of the mentors in my life is my fiance, and she took me aside and she said, I think you need to find a little bit more balance, and you might need to learn how to say no to some of these people. And so that was, again, instilling that, you got to just know your limits, and don't be afraid to ask for help in a lot of situations that you might need it.
Asking for help, also so important. What advice do you have for our students as they start to enter the workforce, as they think about their careers? Are there some keys to your journey, and following your dream and finding your success that you think might also work for our students?
Ask questions. Ask so many questions. There's never a stupid question. Absolutely not. And so you learn so much just by asking simple questions. And more oftentimes than not, you get the other person you're asking questions to talk, and they're going to tell you so much more information about their career path or their journey or the industry that you're inquiring about or you aspire to be a part of. Ask questions and be hungry for information, want to learn and want to develop in any way that happens for yourself. Those are the two nuggets that I took away when I was younger, and some of which I didn't utilize all the time that I wish I would have. And so, yeah, absolutely. Be hungry to learn, be hungry to develop, and ask questions. And again, don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't be afraid to swing for the fences. Take risks, especially when you're young and able to do so, and that will help you create some unbelievable opportunities for you.
I love that. Take risks. And it might be applying for the job that you weren't sure you were qualified for yet, within reason, but taking those opportunities and saying, hey, this is something I want to strive for. So I'm going to take risks. I'm going to swing for the fences. I'm going to ask for help. I am going to know when to say no, which we're all still learning. And Chris, I think we're all still learning that. I love that your fiance gave you that advice. And I I love that you would say a partner in your life would also be a mentor for you. It's the same way in my house as well. And even, you know, even when we're not looking for feedback, we're we're constantly, you know, getting good feedback, but it helps us grow and it helps us learn, right?
Yes.
So I think that wanting to be mentored, being hungry to develop, hungry to learn, asking for help, swing for the fences, take risks, and ultimately, you know, shoot for your dreams, right? Try to reach those goals.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and out of your life to connect with our students today and tell us a little bit more about your story. I think students will be inspired by your journey and certainly learn a lot from your takeaways as you've navigated your professional life. And we're very grateful for your time, Chris. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be a part of this. I really believe in your guys' mission, and the way that you're developing kids in our community is very inspiring. So thank you so much.
Sounds good. And students, visit jamyway.org to learn how you can actually build your own company and learn a little bit more about yourself as well, and continue to utilize those resources that Junior Achievement has put together for you, whether you are learning at home or learning in your classroom with your teachers. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.